Sometimes the hardest thing to forgive isn't what someone did to you. It is what their actions took away from you. And that's where the movie titled I'm Still Here begins. Hello and welcome. If you haven't seen this movie titled I'm Still Here, please head over to YouTube and watch it on Omoni Oboli TV. Trust me, you need to see this movie before hearing my thoughts. This movie tells the story of Paul and Dami, a couple whose lives seem almost perfect. They meet, they fall in love, they got married, and eventually welcome their daughter, Phoebe. For Dami, having Phoebe feels like everything has finally fallen into place, just like a mother would for her child. Her family is complete, she's happy, and she feels closer to God than ever. Until one ordinary day changes everything. While Dami is out shopping, a trailer crashes into her parked car, and her daughter Phoebe, who was just 16 months old, did not survive it. And honestly, this is where the movie becomes very difficult to watch. Because losing a child isn't just about losing someone you love. I mean, losing a child is more or less like losing a future you had already imagined. Dami doesn't know how to process it. She blames herself, she begins questioning God and withdraws from everyone. Like she literally shuts down everyone. At one point, she even behaves as though her daughter is still alive. And that part really shook me. I had tears rolling down my cheeks, watching her go through that traumatic phase. I won't lie. Paul is also grieving too, but he has to carry his own pain while trying to keep his wife from completely falling apart. And this reminded me of something we discussed. I mean, one of the lessons we discussed from the movie titled The Healing Reading that was showing on Biodun Steven TV. I mentioned that some wounds do not bleed outside, but they bleed in memories. And that is true, because just as Stefan was handling the hurt that he felt towards Adiza, the same way we see that Paul was also hurting. But because he was not expressive about the hurt, doesn't mean that he's not feeling hurt at all. So you can try to move on and still carry the memory of what broke you. In other words, sometimes people are hurting in life, but they are hurting differently. One person may decide to cry, another may become angry, and another one may even become totally silent. It doesn't mean that they don't feel the pain. But if you are not careful, instead of grieving together, you may start grieving separately. That's exactly what begins to happen with Paul and Dami in this movie. But then Paul decides he wants justice. And honestly, I wouldn't blame him. I mean, his daughter is gone and he wants the person responsible to pay. That is not too much to ask, or if you ask me. As a lawyer, Paul uses everything within his power to pursue the case. But then the story takes another different turn. The man initially arrested wasn't actually the one driving at that time. It was his brother, Ayodele. And when the truth eventually came out, we discovered that Ayodele wasn't some heartless criminal. He was an unlicensed driver who had taken over because his brother was exhausted from working constantly, all in a bid to pay for their mother's cancer treatment. Suddenly, Paul faces a difficult decision. Does he pursue justice at all costs, or does he consider the circumstances behind what happened? And this is where the movie really got me. Because forgiveness sounds beautiful when you're talking about somebody else's pain. But when it is your child or your family, it can become a completely different conversation, I tell you. Dami eventually discovered that the brother's mother desperately needed a life-saving surgery. Instead of allowing anger to consume her, she chooses mercy and asks Paul to help save her life. Eventually, Paul drops the charges, not because Phoebe's life didn't matter, and not because what happened was okay, but because they realized that revenge wouldn't bring their daughter back. And that is the biggest lesson I took from this movie. Forgiveness is not just saying what you did was okay. It is saying that what you did hurt me deeply, but I refuse to let that pain destroy the rest of my life. This movie ends with hope, not because they forgot about Phoebe, but because they learned that remembering someone doesn't mean you have to remain trapped in the moment you lost them. If you watch this movie titled I'm Still Here, I'd love to know your thoughts. Do you think that Paul was right to drop off the charges, or should justice have taken its full course? Let me know in the comments. And if this movie taught you something, follow us for more deep lessons from movies. Also, if you have not watched the movie, I'll say it again, head straight to YouTube, search for Omoni Oboli TV and watch the movie. The title of the movie is I'm Still Here. Also, suggest the next movie you'd like me to talk about in our next review. Thank you. Bye.